Hey, good evening, everybody. Uh, I just figured it was a good time to start talking about what I've been up to regarding talking about starting this Chi Land Trust, and well, I'd like to tell you about that. Why am I doing it? Why is it important that we're learning to live and be sustainable? Um, we look at the world around us, we look at what's going on. It's just important to take all these things into account, that we're learning to be sustainable. And for those of us doing our spiritual work, we're that was bugging me. But we're just doing what we're being called to do, and whatever that is for each of us. And you know, everybody listening to this, I'm sure, knows exactly what that means. So my work, and like I've said, it's and I know there are others out here doing this kind of work, but I don't, I haven't met them personally. But there's, what I've been given is that there's many pods being created, and they're everywhere. Although just little consciousness pods everywhere, and in each one of those pods, there are people doing the work together. They may live in community, they may not live in community, but they're where they can and where they're finding each other. They're, we are gathering together and doing the work. I believe to rebuild a stronger society, a more loving one. I've talked about it in some of my other stuff, but our own vision of utopia, whatever that spiritual belief and system that is. Maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. But for some of us, that job is to do that work, to get us to a place where we can be in harmony with our fellow brothers and sisters, and not be fighting and not be at war. And I believe we all know that in order to do that, we have to do things a lot different than we know through history has occurred. The way that it works out there, it doesn't work. It creates conflict. It's based on that division. So, we can, every day we're seeing, from earth changes to civil unrest to catastrophes to wars, we see all that every day. So the mass consciousness is awakening. I believe this with everything that I am. Everyone that I see and everyone I know knows that the mass consciousness is awakening, and in that we all have work to do. And in that, even in our spiritual work, we know we have to be sustainable for ourselves, and we're not all there exactly at the same time or doing exactly the same things with that, but we are learning how to be sustainable. And the more sustainable we are with ourselves, just like being healthy with yourself, the more sustainable we are with ourselves, the more we can serve others, the more we can shift what we're doing on the planet by creating or using tools that people have been developing, like dynamic governance, like non-violent communication. Now, there's better words for that too. Some people don't like words non-violent. I'm just getting the message across. There are better words. So I have a vision, and my vision is about us all. And I have a history. I have a story. I guess I should share it, I guess. But so that I can share with you the vision of kind of what my piece of the work is, and hopefully that will inspire you to your piece of work as you look at those around you that are really doing amazing things, creating amazing things. Our friends are creating amazing ways of being, and physical things, and art, and music, and all those things. But we are also in the process of ready to start building communities. We may call this something different. A lot of people have a hard time with the word community. I get a lot of feedback on that. One of the things that we're working on with the tiny home company that I'm working for is we're calling them family compounds. And it's funny, but most people are like, "Oh, that's really cool," and then you think compound. Wow, you'd think that'd come across really kind of negative because when there've been compounds in the past, they went and blew them all up and shot them up and that kind of stuff. So people are sensitive with the words we're using, and we're having to let that awareness come through to us as it does, and we'll gain more clarity on it. And we'll understand. I call them pods. They're pods, and within the pods, you have what I've seen, various archetypes showing up, various teachers. It's what that pod needs. It's what that tribe or that little community, if you want to call it that. It's what that is going to be. It's who's coming together to do that one, because each one of these pods look a little different. There's, again, I can't even begin to tell you how many different kinds there probably are being created right now. For different genders, but different races, different belief systems, different hobbies, farming to the arts, to blowing glass, to permaculture, to just all of those different things where those pieces of the puzzle will be necessary to run the communities. They will be necessary to provide whatever the energy exchange will be. Right now it's still money. It's getting ready to change probably. I don't expect it to be dollars too much longer. I don't know. I don't know. But there's shift happening. It is changing. It's going to change pretty quickly. So anyway, I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee. My family, my grandfather's name was Luther Bates Reed. My father was Irwin Bates. I'm sorry. What was his first name? Anyway, he went by Bates Reed. Yeah, he was Irwin Bates Reed, because I'm a junior or third. Excuse me, kitty. So anyway, I had a great childhood growing up here. Came from a divorced family. My family got divorced when I was really young, but I want to go back to my grandfather. He had 4 brothers, and they owned what was called the Reed Lumber Company in downtown Chattanooga, down where the Whole Foods now is in downtown Chattanooga. And basically they went around the whole southeast. And I'm telling you a story so you understand where I'm coming from, what I believe now, and what the roads could have been that shift us and make us become who we are, to love, to serve, to be, etc., etc. So, but anyway, so my grandparents, my grandfather and his 4 brothers, they built the Reed Lumber Company. Some cool history, back in before that too. History's fun, you look at your family, where you came from, why you act like you do, why you might think the way you do, It's kind of interesting how the traits are carried on, in our families, isn't it? Ones we want, ones we don't necessarily want to continue, old patterns, etc. But they built this amazing company, and they had, my numbers are probably way off, but I know they're in the idea of what I'm giving you. But they went around the country and they lumbered trees back in, I guess that was in the 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, something like that, 1910s to 1950, maybe 60. But they developed a whole bunch of land. No, they didn't develop it. They just bought the land when they would timber it, because it was so cheap. They would just buy these pieces of land. And by the time they died, I was like 1 or 2 when my grandfather died, when Bates Reed died. And so I never got to know any of him or his brothers. I had these weird dreams my entire life, though, about that I was a part of the Reed Lumber Company. I was in there working. I was learning how to do lumber. I always wanted to know how to do that stuff, but I never did it. So I'm getting to learn now a whole lot more than I ever did when I was younger, because I'm called to do it. But they had the Reed Lumber Company, and back in the 20s there was a big flood in Chattanooga. There were no dams yet. TVA hadn't done their stuff there, and Chattanooga was flooded. And I believe, from what I understand, is the Reed Lumber Company really provided the structure, the bones, the wood to rebuild Chattanooga. And I think, as I've looked at my life, I just see that as real community, helping build infrastructure, helping build the things that will last a long time. And, my whole life, I've built communities. From the time I was in college, I started like in an apartment complex. I met this lady, and she's like, "Oh, fill it up for me," and so I did. I filled it up with my gay friends, and I didn't even know they were gay at the time. But it's kind of funny. They were just from college. Nobody had come out and whatever. So anyway, I built the first one there. That's another cool story sometime. But that's all in my life. When a couple of years ago, I looked back and I said, "Wow, I've actually been working on building communities my entire life. Like as long as I can remember, it's just kind of what I am called to do, and I enjoy it, and it's fun. And when I say building communities, it's putting people together and inspiring each other to do fun and amazing things. That's what a community is to me. It's all the other ugly stuff that we see sometimes that we have to learn. Those are just our old patterns that we've learned how to be, and now it's time to unlearn that stuff. And we know we're all ready, but there's ways to do it, and so we want to bring these into the communities. But anyway, my grandfathers, and his brothers did that, and then the family, they all died, and then they had put all this money and land or whatever it was a pretty big thing back then, from what I can understand, with the money that was made. But they designed it. The grandfathers were really wise, it seemed like, but they designed it so that it could never be sold. But as we know what happens, everybody kind of died off. There was one aunt left, and she hired an attorney, and the attorney went around to like 60 different people, because they had so many people they didn't think you could ever sell anything. They were really smart. But here's how it worked out. And this happened to a lot of families back in these generations, these kind of things that were happening in the country. There was a lot of wealth created, and then a lot of wealth was lost and given away and stolen, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So anyway, they had accumulated thousands of pieces of property throughout the Southeast. This aunt, from my understanding, basically hardballed everybody into. She hired an attorney, went around the country, and had them all sign over their rights, and with the promise that everything in the family would go back to the heirs, etc., etc. Well, she died, and she left all the money, $11 million. It was like in the late 60s, early 70s, like 1972. It was a lot of money. I can't even imagine what that'd be worth today. But it was a lot of wealth, and it was a lot of land. And then after everybody died, people got kind of stupid in my family. And they spent it all and let it go. And then when this lady died, the aunt, she willed everything to her sister. Her sister, when she died, gave it to 7 major evangelists called Mr. Falwell, all of them that were around then. But at the same time, I was just getting into college, and as I was getting into college, I was coming out. I was finding out I was gay, and so what ended up happening is my entire family gave. This is the way I perceived it back then, but my family basically lost their inheritance and gave $11 million to 7 major evangelists in this country, and I think it was Jerry Falwell. God, I can't remember all their names now. But when I got to college, this was my wake-up call. My family goes, "Bates, we don't know what to do. You're working for an attorney." I was going to be an attorney when I went to college, and didn't end up doing that. But they said, "Will you help us?" Well, I'm this little kid, right? I'm 18 years old, and I'm 19 maybe at that point. And I found the attorneys I was working for said, "Yeah, we'll take it on," but it was really weird. It had this weird history, and I've really got to research this someday somehow, figure out why attorneys were afraid to handle our case. I don't get it. But anyway, when that money was all distributed, it had a what's it called? Not a right of rescission, but I'm just forgetting the words right now. But like a statute of limitations. But like 8 years went by or something like that, and we were like in the last 6 months to a year, and some family members said, "Bates, could you go see the attorneys?" And then, we were getting ready. because the statute of limitations, if we would have done it, we could have maybe recovered maybe $4 million or something. It's still a lot of money in my book. So anyway, that didn't happen. And I couldn't pull the money together from anybody back then. You know, I was a kid. I didn't really know how to do that, go ask for money or how to do that. And what I was dealing with was just something out of my ball game, even though I was, you know, working in getting into politics in college and stuff like that. But anyway, so we lost it all. And what I did is, because of the way it affected me personally, I took that. You ever read the book Atlas Shrugged? Well, that became my Atlas Shrugged. I put that world up on the back of my shoulder, and I said, I'll go out and I'll recover everything in my family. And there was some anger in there, I'm sure. There was a lot of resentment, you know, but I'm going to go recover what everybody lost. Well, it didn't. Yeah. By the time I hit my 40s, and I was realizing, well, it's not my job to do. You know, I didn't do that. You know, I just took it on, and that became my Atlas Shrugged that I carried around. And what it did is it formed me and changed me. And I think if I would have had all that money, the way I was going politically from a very young age, and I've had a blessed life, you know, I've had a blessed life. I'll just leave it there right now. But I would have probably turned out to be a really bad, egotistical human being. Because that's where I was started, you know. I was pretty ego-driven. I was pretty much after the money, and that office looking over the lake, which I ended up getting when I worked for the Orlando Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I traveled the world and dined with princes and princesses and was in most embassies. And so I just had this really crazy blessed life. And then I got to play politics, and you know, I've done some really cool stuff. But not to brag about it, but my ego was really growing and getting bigger and bigger. And I think that money, one of my lessons in life was that money would have just exacerbated that to some horrible level, like we see now in the world with politicians that just make a whole lot of money, and it's not real pretty what's going on in the world around us like that. So what ended up happening is in my consciousness, where I am now, is I'm in a place where, like, I always wanted to in the back of my mind, I wanted to do well by my family, and I wanted to recover all that land. And, you know, it was crazy how much land we owned here in Chattanooga. And now I drive by it all, and I'm like, wow, and then there's not even a place. There's not one piece left for me or my sister or my other two sisters or anybody like that. There's nothing left. It was all gone. It's all gone. But I think a transformation happened for me. What are you doing? Stop. Just get you a bone. I think a transformation began happening in all of this through my spiritual lessons, through life, etc., etc. And what has come is I want to create. Those of you that follow me know this, but I have begun to create what will be called the Chi Land Trust. Chi's my dog, but Chi got her name from Life Energy, or Life Force. So it'll be the Life Force Land Trust. And basically I have started, this weekend, every weekend now I'm going back, because I'm in Blairsville still. And but every Sunday night after I get done with tiny homes and off trying to physically get these into people's hands and allow people to begin creating their own sustainability with their life without having a big mortgage, so that they can do the things they truly love. That's the reason we're doing this, is so we can be inspired by each other to do the amazing things that we come here to do, instead of having to go to a job every day that you're just doing to pay the mortgage. So it's about simple living. It's about becoming sustainable. It's an exciting venture, and a lot of people all over the country and the world have already tapped into this. As towns and cities throughout Europe, throughout the world, got bigger and bigger, people lived smaller and smaller. So, you know, America is going through that. The rest of the world is too, because tiny is cool. But the thing about, it's not about the size of the house, it's what you have to give up to get into it, I think is what it is. But to go tiny, you got to give all your fluff, all the things that don't make you authentic. You got to kind of get rid of all that stuff. And that's a physical, spiritual, and emotional journey in and of itself. Because as you get rid of your stuff, you come into this small space. Like right now, I'm I'm in a temporary space, but it's my home right now, my camper. And then right across over there is the tiny house that I work in here in Blairsville, Georgia. And then I work in Ellijay on Sundays, and then I'm coming back to Chattanooga. I've just started coming back to Chattanooga now on Sunday nights and Mondays. So, and maybe Tuesday. So I'm making Monday and Tuesdays kind of my off day, but I'm going to start transitioning back to Chattanooga, but at the same time, I'm going to be working here in Blairsville and Ellijay and the Stark County area and all the people that were, because there's a lot of people doing tiny homes coming up from Atlanta, all over this region, and it's happening everywhere, you know. So I am selling the tiny homes that I sell to make money now to buy land for the Chi Land Trust. The Chi Land Trust, when you buy into it, the way I've got it structured now, it's all going to change as we all develop it together, but right now I've started it. So it's like a $5,000 investment. The idea is, now, this is not set in stone. This is where I am in creating this thing. So it's a $5,000 investment. That may look like a tractor, it may look like cash. We gotta have cash in this world in order to buy land. Don't you want a bone, baby? So so it's a $5,000 investment, and then when you invest, so we'll have an idea of what the land will be like. Right now I'm looking for land within 30 minutes to an hour of Chattanooga. I want this one to be really close to Chattanooga if I can. And if you go to the website, and I'll go on Facebook to Eagle Ridge Buildings of Ellijay, and like that if you would, and go to Eagle Ridge Buildings Blairsville, and that's mine. That's the lot I run. But I work in these different places, so as we begin to provide housing that's very affordable for people, you know, and I'll get into that at another time, but starting at $5,000 or $6,000, people can begin to build a home for themselves and not have a mortgage. And yeah, it may not be perfect, but 3 years as opposed to 30 years to own a little bitty payment, so you can build a tiny home for yourself. It's an option, it's a possibility now, and that's what I've been offered by the universe right now, is to find a way to get those out to people. And then of course we know about all the other small home living options that there are, and again, every community is going to look different wherever you are, whatever you want to build, because this is going to be up to you to build it. But I'm getting ready to start this blog. I want to talk to all the people that are making things happen in the new consciousness of our society. And I just want to talk to my friends and the people with the old community of Chi that we did, that we watched community happen. And for a year we lived in a flow, a whole bunch of us, like 150, 200 people. It was amazing. That's what it felt like to me. That's what the number said on the Facebook pages and stuff. So, but when you see it happen, when you see community happen, real love, real inspiration, real amazing things happen, and then you see it, then you know it can be done again. So now, I don't know if I'm speaking for myself, I'm speaking for myself, but I bet you there's a whole bunch more people, and I actually have heard this from many other people. That was an amazing time in our lives, and we'll never forget it, because we were flowing with the universe, every single one of us. Our ideas were expanding, we were all, and the secret to it was, we were inspiring each other by our friendships, we were inspiring our work, we were helping each other develop ideas, thoughts, and then the actual implementation of these ideas into manifestation of each of our own dreams. And so we each supported each other in that, and it was working flawlessly for a while. Then personalities grew and we changed, but what's happened through all of the shift and change that's happened over the last 3 years, all those people have continued on their journey and created beautiful, beautiful gifts. And so I'm really looking forward to going back home, being a part of that inspiration that we all give each other, and see what happens in the coming days, months, years, etc. So, but what the land trust, so once you buy into the land trust, let's say I purchased the 10 acres that I went up and looked at today. I don't know if I will. I'm looking for more water features. I'm looking for a well, if you know of any land or water or well. I'm looking for running creek water, well, owner financing, 10 to 100 or 1,000 or a million acres. But I'll probably be able to afford about maybe 5 or 10. I've got one other person that said he's in, he wants to play, and we're going to start our own the first tiny home compound. And these will be tiny homes joined together by walkways. And we're going to do it that way because, and it can change, but right now I'm doing it that way because as I bring in the money, and it's not much, for selling tiny homes, if people buy them from me, and if they bring in their own, that's great too, but if they buy them from me, I get to put the money back into building, we get to put the money back into building, to buying more lands, to buying more tiny homes to get people started. And these are, you know, the sheds and buildings that we sell at Eagle Ridge, buildings, flawless plug there, right? But it's where I'm getting my nourishment financially, and it's feeding me so that I can realize a piece of my own dream, which is physically starting to build these communities, because I see it. And I think a lot of us see it. And I know so many people out looking for land to put their tiny home on, but I'm here to say, great, do it on your own if you want, but there is coming a time where we'll have to work together. And in working together, it means we're going to have to live in fairly close proximity to manage the fields or greenhouses or whatever we're doing, because the sun may change next year and we may need greenhouses in order to produce enough light with all the volcanism going on. We don't know that to be a fact, but we need to prepare for it now because it's already happening. It's already happening around the world. And so to be deaf and ignorant of what's going on is foolish, in my opinion, on my part. So I'm working toward that goal. Now, I've got a long way to go, and a lot of people have been doing this for years, and a lot of y'all are there, and maybe y'all are willing to really reach out now and help us. Help as many people as we can begin to live sustainable lives and create sustainable community. And then, again, the idea with the land trust is that if you buy into the 5,000, you then are a part of the, I don't want to call it ownership, part of the expansion ministry of love of the planet. You're part of the land trust. And then more and more people come, and let's say it was $54,000 to buy this 10 acres of land, which it is. So if I got to buy $54,000, it's $1,000 down. So I can cover that. I'm ready. I've been trying to make money so I can start buying this land for us, those who want to play. We've been following each other a long time, people. So we kind of all we got to do is look a little, and we'll see where this is coming from, because this is all coming from a space of changing the way the world is, because we know it doesn't work. And we have faith, and we have love, and we are spiritual beings, and we know it. And some of us call ourselves Christians or Buddhists or witches or pagans or Islamists or they're all our brothers and sisters, and we have to stop the madness in the world. So the only way to do that is by the masses of consciousness which is occurring on the planet, and that's what we're doing. So each of us have our jobs, and the ones that are brought together to do certain things are meant to know each other. They're meant to work together. Energetically, the frequencies are resonating, and we come together, and then we can speak a language. It's very, very similar. We can understand a little here, we can understand a little here, but we really don't want to go to here anymore. We don't have time to be wasting that energy. And it's not, I hate to use the word waste, but we don't have time for it anymore. So we need to be vibrating with those that we can hear, that can hear us, and then we're building what we're building. And we know what we're building. It's a simple life. It's a way to reconnect with Mother Earth. It's a way to connect with Father Spirit. It's a way to connect with whatever it is that we have to balance to find our authentic selves, so we can truly be happy doing what we're doing and create a loving world and planet and society. And it all starts in our own very little bitty communities. So this is what I've been given. And all the pieces just line up, and when I'm through with the lesson, it'll be like, bam, you're done. Over here's where you go now. Pay attention. And you all know what I'm talking about. So, the Chi Land Trust, we will start with the first piece of land. I'm looking now for partners that want to come in at $5,000 a piece. It's $50,000. If we could have, enough people to buy that land, we will begin the first one. And then somebody will say, oh, I've got a piece of land. A girl today called me and said, I've got a piece of land in Virginia. I like this idea. Let's see what we can do. So I've got another lady that has some over in North Carolina. hello, kitty. You know, in North Carolina, and she's been talking to me, and she's trying to figure out what to do. She's trying to figure out, she's trying to figure out what to do with hers, and you know, she's not spry and 25 anymore. So we need people to support. We need our millennials. We need our people younger than our millennials now to step up to the plate and say, let's build a new world. Are you willing to give your land up, or are you willing to buy into the land trust so that you don't even lose your land? It's still yours. The land trust also can never be sold. You can trade not for money shares or not for energy shares, but you can trade your shares and move to, if you're called to go to North Carolina and help them build community, you can move your tiny home there, or you could maybe rent a home there while we build other homes within the community. So as you're called to different places to do your work, whatever that looks like for you. Some people may just want to travel and see what's going on and write a documentary. I don't know what's going to happen, but we are reaching out. We're touching each other. So, the Chi Land Trust is going to be the avenue that I see to get us there. And of course, we'll develop it together as we grow it. I don't know if y'all met Chi. That's Chi there. She's the one that, and Atma's over there behind her, and the light's down there, and the kitty's there. But she's the one that inspired, she changed my life. She inspired me. I don't have time to go into all the stories today, but we've been doing some amazing things in the area, and there's many, many, many of us doing, just expressing gifts. And I want to share those people with you. I want you to see what they're doing, and then maybe you'll come online and say, hey, I'd like to do a video with you and be online and show us what you're doing. You know, how we are changing the world together to be whatever it is we wish it to be. And we'll do that with love, man. We'll do that with love. Again, I'm Bates Reed. You can reach me by email. Hello, kitty. Go. You can reach me by email at bhaktavirya@gmail.com. You spell that BHAKTAVIIRYA. Bhaktavirya@gmail.com. BHAKTAVIIRYA. Bhaktavirya@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like, I don't even have the Facebook page set up for the blog yet. So it's going to be called Chi Life. I have a YouTube set up, and that'll be called Chi Life with Bates Reed. So I'm going to ask you to start, if you're into this journey with me, to like these pages as they come on board, so I can move forward, so that I'm motivated by you to move forward by sharing your stories and what you're doing as we go into this crucial, amazing time of earth change and shift and love and consciousness on this planet and beyond. So anyway, Bates Reed, sending you love, sending you light, sending you blessings. Always see a higher being around you. Some people will use Jesus, some will use Buddha, some will use science. But see something bigger than you, because there's a lot of energy coming into the planet, and you want to shield what is too big for you to take in, and you do want to have that entity in place, that Jesus, that whatever it is that you believe in, that is the next ascension level from you. And then all the good, clean information you need is going to come through in your meditations. Love yourself. Meditate daily. Well, twice a day at least. If you're not already doing that, it's time. Just take a minute. So anyway, sending love and light, and I hope you like what I have to say, and I hope you will share your dreams and visions and passions with us all. Thank you. Have a great night.